we've had this introduction. So good evening and a warm welcome to all of you. And thanks really for your time and for being here. Today at the webinar, we are going to be launching a really important partnership between the ABG, which is the Advertising Business Group, and the region's self-regulatory organization, and the Institute of Practitioners in Advertising, also known as the IPA in the UK. And just a little bit for those who don't know me, my name is Priya Sarma. I am a board member with the ABG. And, as my day job, I'm with Unilever. I head corporate affairs and sustainability for Unilever in the region. I don't want to miss the opportunity because I don't know a lot of names here, and I think it'll be great for you to just understand a little bit about the ABG and why we are hosting this. So, like I mentioned, we are the region's self-regulatory body for advertising and marketing, and our agenda really aims to improve industry standards and promote best practices, essentially elevating the level of advertising within the region. And we are registered under the Dubai Chamber. We were set up in November 2016, and actually over the last few years, we're really proud to say that we've increased our membership base from 16 members to over 75 members today. And we have members from across the rung of the advertising and marketing industry, including advertisers, platforms, we've got ad and media agencies, we've got outdoor and retail companies, consultants, research companies, and global payments and technology companies. And essentially, our members account for about 70 to 75% of the region's ad spend. Now, knowledge and capability building are core to helping us achieve our ambition, because it's really through understanding, where our advertising and marketing industry stands today, and how we can build the expertise within the industry can we really help elevate and grow it. And today, together with the IPA, we are here committed to providing the MENA advertising and marketing industry with the latest resources and tools to help create accountable and effective marketing. Yes. Now, I'm shortly going to hand over to Sera. Sera is really, she is the architect behind the Effective Essentials certification that was developed at the IPA, and she's going to give you a little bit of a view on how you can improve your effectiveness to help improve campaigns and keep clients happy, and effectively really developing your own capabilities in that space. And Sera will then be followed by Louise and Ben. Louise is the Associate Director and Professional Development Head for the IPA. She'll give us a quick overview of the qualifications that we are bringing to you. And Ben, who works with Louise, will then give you a quick view on how to go through the website and kind of, register yourself and apply to use the tools. So welcome, Sera, and over to you now.
Thanks so much, Priya. As I share my screen, I'm also just going to make a quick apology to everyone if I have to go on mute to cough. I'm just recovering from COVID. Hopefully, I noticed that I see some sympathy in the chat for lost voices and sickness. I think it's just the way of the world at the moment, but hopefully my voice will hold out. Can everyone just see my screen just there? Yeah? Fantastic. Okay. So as Priya said in the introduction just there, I am the author of the Effectiveness Essentials Certificate, the qualification for the IPA, and also consult with the IPA across all effectiveness qualifications. So what I'm going to do today is give you two things, really. One is just a little bit of an overview and an insight. Louise will talk later and speak to how Effectiveness Essentials sits within the suite of qualifications at the IPA, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of depth into how it's structured and why it's structured in the way that it is. It was designed very purposely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a flavour in terms of what we call our 10 principles of effectiveness leadership. And hopefully within that, there'll be some practical kind of key takeaways that you can take from today's session, links to some of the thematics that we have in Effectiveness Essentials, but really hopefully some tangible outputs that you can take back into your day-to-day, first thing tomorrow morning, as leaders within your respective organisations. So, anyone who's had any kind of touch point with effectiveness in any way, I'm sure will be familiar with the name Peter Field. This may seem like an oddly self-serving quote, but I think really it sums up the ethos behind the qualification and behind how it was designed. This is a quote that Peter gave us for our launch press release, actually, but in it he says, "The sooner those coming into marketing and advertising acquire a grasp of the fundamentals of effectiveness, the more able they will be able to add value and to challenge the mistakes that so many make in our world. Effectiveness Essentials is a giant leap forward for thinking mankind." And really that echoes, I guess, some of the principal beliefs that we have around effectiveness as the IPA. We really do believe that the most successful agencies and clients make creative effectiveness integral to their business and their culture. Believe that effectiveness sits at the heart of many of the core challenges facing both the present and future of our industry today. And really crucially, we believe that effectiveness is everyone's business. And by that, we mean that actually it should be a part of everyone, from finance through to account management, planning, creative, effectiveness and effectiveness culture within our organisations, client side across comms, data, marketing and brand, really focusing on effectiveness being front and centre. So when we came to designing the Effectiveness Essentials Certificate, we were very purposeful that actually this wouldn't be a qualification designed purely for practitioners. There are other moments within the suite of qualifications that I'm sure Louise will touch on later when she takes you through the offer. What we did with Effectiveness Essentials was actually really looked at what were those fundamentals that Peter refers to. And we structured that into 10 very simple modules. Each one takes around an hour of learning. They're bite-sized. Each one has been designed with key takeouts, links to effectiveness case studies, really rooted in kind of practicality and day-to-day example. But each of them are structured in a way that gives a sense of programme. So we start Effectiveness Essentials with an introduction to effectiveness. Might seem an obvious place to start, but actually getting a level set of understanding about what we mean about the word is really crucial for all of us, no matter where we sit in our organisations. So we start with principles and introduction. Then in the certificate, we move on to a group of 4 modules that we have kind of framed as almost the what of effectiveness. Really getting deep understanding in what we mean by short term, whether that's impact or metrics, likewise for long term, and then building that wider peripheral and really important from an effectiveness perspective understanding of what we mean by business metrics and wider effects. Some of those I'll touch on in the 10 principles I come to. Once we've built that understanding within the qualification, we then move on to our 4 kind of modules that we see as the how of effectiveness. And in that, that's kind of almost effectiveness in practice. We start with effectiveness in context and some of the nuances therein. We build through effectiveness culture, and whether that means organisational transformation, structure or behaviours. We then think about how brands and behaviour and wider kind of behavioural economics and psychology fits within the effectiveness landscape. And then crucially thinking from a commercial creativity, the work that we do and delivering work that works, how that then builds into our why of effectiveness, the purpose and impact of what we all do as practitioners or professionals in this business, no matter where we sit. And that final 10th module is around helping you construct your own effectiveness strategy. And it's really in that last module almost that we're going to jump off now as I take you through the 10 principles of effectiveness. Really crucially, before we embark on any journey, our first principle is around stating your intent. As the great Stephen King, godfather of planning, articulated, there must be a hypothesis of how the advertising is intended to work. this may sound, we already plan, but actually what we recommend is that effectiveness is a consideration within the brief. It's not thought of as something that we come to at the end when we want to unpick measurement or if we want to evaluate. We are designing for the effectiveness outcome, the intent of the work that we are producing from day one. Our second principle almost warns us of...
Sorry to interrupt. You know your charts aren't moving on?
Oh, they are on my screen.
I can still see a welcome to the IPA Learning and Development Programme.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That
sorry.
is strange. 1 second. I
just wanted to flag the 10
behind.
principles are your I did send a message in the chat, but then realized you might not have seen it. Yes. So now we're on chart 5.
Okay. I'm going to slide share from here and see if that works.
Yeah.
Can you now see this? And if I change it, can you see it change?
Still on slide 5.
Right. If you can't, I'm going to stop putting it on slide for you and I'll just leave it on this.
It's on slide 6 now. It might just be a delay.
I think it's the delay when I put it onto slideshow. If everyone's happy, I'll just keep it on this view. Okay. So first principle, state your intent. Designing for effectiveness from the beginning, including a consideration of effectiveness within the brief. Absolutely from the get-go, and ensuring everyone understands that effectiveness is not the thing that you look to when it comes to measurement and evaluation. It's the thing that you design for from day one. Principle 2 is where we consider what we call beware the dangers of dichotomy. And by that we mean that there are absolute principles which you must stick to. On the one hand, we have this wonderful paradox within effectiveness, and it's something that in this video, all of these will be links that Louise can arrange for you to have a copy of this deck. That actually, by and large, we do have what we call the 60-40 principle. When it comes to effectiveness, 60% of our kind of budget and therefore intent being invested into brand building, 40 into kind of short-term sales activation and tactics. But actually that there are incredible nuances and there is a wealth of data and learning that we can put in that makes sure that actually we can tailor that effectiveness design to our business. Too often when it comes to effectiveness, we can become almost trapped in the short versus long debate. That's that danger of dichotomy, that there are two absolutes. And in actual fact, effectiveness, just like the brands we work on, just like the business that we work in, is far more complex than that. Reducing your effectiveness strategy to an either or is to miss so much of the nuance that is in the work that as practitioners within our industry, we all love to produce. So really do question taking anything, taking the received wisdom, make sure that you are tailoring that and really getting to understand what is specific to your brand, your business, your audience, your challenge. There is a wealth of data that will be available to you as an IPA partner through the F-Works platform. There is a huge amount of research that's gone into this, and it's all there for the taking. Third principle, spend for short, invest for long. Whenever I talk about effectiveness, which is regularly, I always say to people that there's a million charts you can look at. If you only ever look at one chart, it's this one that's on the screen just now. This chart is seen as almost the kind of the absolute kind of gospel when it comes to effectiveness. And in this chart, we can really see the danger of, if we only think about short-term spend, that's the SAW that we see here, you can see sales uplift gives you a spike much bigger than what we call the steps, which is brand building. You can see you can rise. It's very often like to think of this as sugar versus carbs. It's very kind of tempting as practitioners to go for the sugar, to feel that kind of short-term hit. But we can see that over time, we need to build those longer release, that brand building, that long-term sales growth, the carbs of what we do, into how we practice. So really making sure that you are constantly also thinking over different timescales and over different needs. Spend for short, invest for long. Fourth principle, thinking beyond advertising. I touched on this when I went through the kind of the modules for effectiveness essentials. It's really important for all of us to consider, and I know it will be front of mind with lots of the names that I saw on this call today, to think beyond advertising impacts and advertising effects. Really thinking about business metrics, the needles that are being moved, thinking about the work that we're doing in terms of shareholder value, thinking about sales impact, thinking about profitability, thinking about organic versus non-organic growth, really thinking about how the work that we are doing can be having commercial impacts in other areas of the business. R&D, for example, innovation, really making sure that, again, when you're designing that effectiveness strategy, you're thinking beyond advertising and beyond the direct impact of the work and the immediate context within which it sits. Follow-up point to that is thinking beyond the dashboard. This campaign example here is a really famous IPA case study. If you haven't read the British Heart Foundation, Vinnie Jones award-winning IPA effectiveness paper, it's well worth a recommend. I often use this as an example when we think about beyond the dashboard in terms of thinking about effectiveness and impact in the real world. Your customers, your consumers, your audiences don't just sit within the sales dashboard and within the metrics that we all track each and every day. This case example here was around teaching CPR. Their effectiveness case was built around not just the impact in terms of engagement and the impact even in terms of behavioural change. They measured effectiveness in this case by looking at the long-term impact on cost saved for the NHS. They looked at trying to value a life saved. They looked at wider kind of impact, and they also did a really interesting comparison as to how else the money could have been spent to try and solve the same problem. When we think beyond the dashboard and what we look at every day, it can really help us not only to plan for effectiveness, but to build a case for impact within our organisations. Not for changing today. Here we go. Let's move back up. Learning shared language, sixth principle. Again, these next two principles really link to the sixth module and the seventh module that I mentioned within Effectiveness Essentials, really starting to think about how you're building coalitions across your business where effectiveness is concerned. I pull this stat and this quote here because quite often we, within our side of the industry, can often think that finance don't understand marketing, they don't appreciate what we do, CEOs don't value brands. There are lots of myths that circulate, and actually there's a lot of research from the IPA, which is linked here, that disproves that, proves that it isn't true. And actually, when we really focus on building a shared language between finance, data, customer, tech, your stack, comms, marketing and brand, we can really start to see that actually the organisation and the consumers that you're trying and the audiences that you're trying to reach don't see those silos. So building that shared language and working out what are the common things that are important, what's important to you and what's important to me, and building those coalitions will really set you up for success from an effectiveness point of view. Building on that is what we call Principle 7, map all the moving parts. Understanding within your business and taking that role as a leader in whatever role you take and whatever organisation you sit, to understand where all of the key stakeholders, where does the data sit? What else is there across my business? How can I map what I can access and those relationships that I can build to build that culture of effectiveness that doesn't just sit within somebody's measurement capability, creating work that works and delivering on business objectives and moving the business forward is true effectiveness culture. And within Effectiveness Essentials, we actually drill into some of the organisations where that is already established. Principle 8 speaks to knowing the business. I often use this quote from Warren Buffett around annual reports, and when I teach effectiveness, particularly to more junior practitioners, I always say that actually, if you want to look at what's important to a business and you want to look at the brief that isn't in the brief that you've been given by your client, read the annual report of the company. Everything you need to learn will be in there. And I would just really challenge all of us to make sure, if we sit agency side, do we know our client's business? Have we got under the skin about what's really important, what really moves things forward, what's important to our key stakeholders, what's important to the business overall? How is it structured? How is it incentivized? How does it report? Knowing and understanding those fundamentals and laddering those down to what we do within effectiveness is really crucial. Understanding what levers you're pulling. No talk from the IPA is ever complete without a quote from Rory Sutherland. So I've chosen this one. Bias is a lot like love. It's all around. This really speaks to understanding the context of effectiveness. Understanding what levers you are pulling, understanding consumer behaviour, bias, right through to behavioural economics, the context of how the work that you're producing and where effectiveness sits within your own organisational culture and dynamics, who are the key stakeholders and the players, is really essential. Going back to that first principle of when we state our intent, understanding what we have to do to reach that goal is really important for us to kind of make sure we have that rounded view. And then our 10th and final principle, and this is purposeful in its language, is around making a case for commercial creativity. When BBH was founded, their kind of founding principle was our objective is effectiveness, our strategy is creativity. Really thinking, going back to that first point about what's our end goal and stating that intent, but then pulling that through as leaders to make sure that we are making the case for commercial creativity. We are de-risking the investment in commercials, and we are putting and making a really solid argument to de-risk that decision and make the case for investment. So our 10 principles in summary: state your intent, beware of those dangers of dichotomy and being kind of binary, spend for short, invest for long, remember that chart. Think beyond advertising and think beyond the dashboard. Think both beyond advertising in terms of your wider business and those more wider manifold effects, and think beyond the dashboard and real world impact. Within your business, learn a shared language, map all the moving parts, know the business as well as your colleagues, your peers and your clients. And then from a work perspective, in terms of what we create, understand the levers that you are pulling and really focus on building and making that case for commercial creativity. Evidence-based decision making is at the heart of effectiveness leadership. I'll now stop sharing my screen and we can take some questions.
So any questions for Sarah? We've actually only got 4 minutes with her, so don't all rush to put your hands up, or do.
More than happy to take those offline in any capacity, Louise, after this call, if there's any specific questions around some of the certificate, if there's anything that comes up in your later discussion, really happy to engage in any way. I'll also make sure that everyone gets copies of those slides, but hopefully there was something useful and enough to kind of whet the appetite as far as effectiveness qualifications are concerned.
I think you've made it sound so fabulous that in my broad presentation later, I'm going to struggle to make everything else sound as wonderful because I don't have half an hour. I've got 15 minutes.
Compliment indeed, Louise, compliment indeed.
But any questions that anyone wants to share publicly, or would you just like to contact us directly afterwards? Maybe, Charlotte, if there are questions, you could collate them and send me a whole list that I could put to Sarah to answer separately, sure. And you could share afterwards or something, rather than things trickling in one by one.
More than happy to.
Okay, well, thank you, Sarah.
Fantastic, no problem.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time today, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the session.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'll just wait for Sarah to leave because then her screen won't be shared anymore. And I am going to now share my screen. I hope that my Wi-Fi is working a bit better than Sarah's. Can you all see my introductory chart?
Yes, we can.
I'm assuming. So I thought it would be worth just telling you a little bit more, although Priya gave us a glowing description in her introduction, but a little bit more about the IPA. We are the UK-based trade body or professional body for people who work in the advertising industry and marketing services. So what that means actually is that we are a member-only organisation, and our members in the UK pay a subscription to join, but we do open, now that we are a Royal Chartered body, and I'll come on to talk to that on a bit later on, we are now obliged by the Queen and the government to open our services more broadly so that we can improve the performance of advertising, marketing and communications as a category. Because actually in the UK, the creative industries is actually a huge contributor to the economy. So the more successful the creative industries are, the more successful the UK is. So that is really one of our kind of core objectives. So we do this in many ways. So we have research and insight departments. We have a legal department who service our UK members in terms of legal advice. We have a production advisory service, which during COVID, as you can imagine, was inundated with requests about how do you create content when you're not allowed to be in the same room as anyone else from another household. We provide thought leadership, which contributes to a lot of our qualifications, which I'll come on to talk about later. We create best practice guides with our members. We do all sorts of stuff, but the main objective of the IPA is to improve the professionalism of the industry to make us a better business for us and deliver better results to our clients. We now, in recent years, have actually developed quite a broad reach because as lots of our people who may have worked in UK agencies move to live abroad and relocate, they are keen for people in their new businesses in other markets like Australia, Canada, Europe, Malaysia, Middle East, New Zealand, USA, and obviously now UAE, to have the benefit of IPA learning. So we've actually found that in recent years, we've got people from all over the globe studying our qualifications. In fact, we've counted, and it's 87 countries that people have IPA qualifications in. And there's about 30,000 people with IPA qualifications now, which is pretty amazing. I touched on this a bit earlier. We're incorporated by Royal Charter, which was a kind of honour we were bestowed with in 2017. If you're incorporated by Royal Charter, it is basically the seal approval from the government and technically the Queen, because it's a kind of old-fashioned English process, that all of the work that you provide seeks to improve the industry that you're delivering for. So it was a 5-year process, I believe, for us to pull together all of the evidence to show these incredibly rigorous bodies within government and the Queen that we are good enough to deserve this accolade. So that's an important journey that we've been on. So what you're really here for, other than Sera's brilliant effectiveness section, is to find out what else is available to you from us. So as Sera touched on, we have a whole suite of qualifications at different levels of seniority, and each one touches on a different relevant niche, I suppose, in the industry. So the first qualification, and in fact, the one that has been going the longest, it's been going since 2003, is the Foundation Certificate. That's 30 hours of learning. And you can see from this chart, and again, we'll share, Charlotte will make all these charts available to you later. You are entitled to a discount on each of these qualifications. That's the benefit of you being a member of the ABG and our relationship with them. That is the quid pro quo. So I'm going to share some charts as we go on, actually, which give you a little bit more detail on each qualification. But the ones that are available to you are listed here. I'll give you a second to digest it because I'm going to play some videos and things. What I just need to check actually in a second is that my sound will work for you. one of the unique things about all of our qualifications, which I think is really important and makes them more valuable than perhaps other generic things maybe supplied by universities, for example, is that every single qualification is written by people who work in the industry for the industry. So each person has a unique perspective of what they can bring to each piece of learning that we deliver. What this also means, by the way, is that we update things regularly with new authors. So all the learning is always really up to date and hopefully at the forefront of what you need in your markets. And you can see the names on the list here. I'm not going to read them all because there are so many, but I'm sure you might recognize some because they're actually all over the world, which is accolade. So what I just want to check, by the way, because I've swapped charts with Sarah, is that I'm just going to double click back in and unshare, and then I share. You're all going to see Ben now. So what I have here, it is, oh, hold on, typical, my screen's crashed now by trying to make it work. Apologies, I just have to reopen. Probably found that would have worked anyway. So I've got a few videos and a little bit of voiceover from me about some qualifications we don't have films on to just give you a little introduction to each qualification. What we will do after this, of course, is we'll send you some links to our website where you can find all of these, and there's greater detail. So as I said earlier, the Foundation Certificate was the first qualification we launched at the IPA. And it was actually the brainchild of Stephen Woodford, who at the time worked in an agency, but now he is the chairman of the Advertising Association in the UK. So we continue to work with him very closely, actually. And in fact, I'll touch on it a bit later, but we actually have another qualification that we've launched with the AA quite recently. But the Foundation Certificate, by virtue of the number of people who have done it, and by virtue of it being the first qualification of its kind in the industry, is actually the #1 advertising qualification globally. We've won awards, we've won e-learning awards for it, and we still continue to see about 1,200 people go through it a year in the UK, that is. So the kind of incremental business of that. So we estimate that about 98% of new joiners to the industry in the UK take the Foundation Certificate. Certainly in IPA membership, that's true. And those are the numbers that are available to us. So the qualification, I'll push play on this because I don't want to duplicate what gets said in the video. So please do put a message in the chat if the sound doesn't work, because that was what that nonsense was about a second ago, was me double checking that it would.
Future is to create it. Boost your career in the world of advertising, media, and marketing communications by taking the IPA Foundation Certificate. 30 hours of online training created by experts and industry visionaries will provide you with everything you need to kickstart your career and shape the future of brands. Regardless of whether you have ambitions to succeed in the agency or client world, the learning will help you to understand consumers, their motivations, and how to influence their purchasing decisions by understanding the science of choice. The qualification also covers how to write strategies that sell, the roles of different media, how to use data and work creatively, and how to measure the success of your work. The learning is flexible and accessible from anywhere. Connect with peers as you become the experts and visionaries of the future. With thousands of alumni working as industry practitioners, the IPA Foundation Certificate is the world's #1 advertising qualification. So, make the IPA Foundation Certificate part of your future.
So I hope that brought some colour to the presentation versus me talking all the time. We also have in the suite at Essentials level a qualification called the Commercial Essentials Certificate, which is broadly about understanding how finances work within your agency's business, because we actually find that outside the finance department, people in agencies have other priorities, so don't necessarily understand all the intricacies of how an agency's budget might work. So I will pop play on this video so that it will tell you a little bit more.
It is no secret our industry is undergoing turbulent times. So how do you survive that? The answer lies in being as commercially effective as we are creatively effective. Agencies that are strong commercially make a profit. This profit can be reinvested in the business to drive growth, enable innovation, and to reward employees. The IPA Commercial Essentials Certificate will introduce you to the commercial skills you will need to succeed in advertising communications. You will learn how agencies make money, how to manage day-to-day client services and still be profitable, the basics of agency remuneration, and the meaning behind some of the financial terminology likely to be used by clients. Most importantly, by taking this qualification, you can help champion a commercially creative culture within your agency and be equipped to promote the commercial value of this industry to your clients. Study the content at your own pace and convenience via desktop, mobile, or the IPA Learning app, and be better placed to understand what commercial success looks like for your clients, which will drive profitable growth for your agency with the IPA Commercial Essentials Certificate.
Effectiveness Essentials. I don't know if you would like me to play the film on this or not, because Sarah's given you such a strong overview. Priya, would you like me to push on this video, or shall I move on to the next?
Yeah, I think we can move on.
So we've also, in 2021, we launched a Diversity and Inclusion Essential Certificate, which is a tongue twister. And this was really because culturally, there was a lot of talk in the industry about creating more diverse cultures and how diverse cultures within business give you better results as businesses. And so this qualification has 9 different modules focusing on lots of different areas of diversity. So, for example, there's a section on neurodiversity, there's gender, there's actually social mobility as well, and then there are a few others. So there is no video for this because it's so new, I'm afraid, but let us know if you are interested in that, and you can see all the details of it on the website anyway. I think I'll just move swiftly on from that one. It has had in the first year, though, over 1,000 people take it, which makes it our most successful qualification launch of all time. So it is very popular and the feedback on it is great. And actually the levels of interaction in the platform are really good because there's a discussion forum in there that people are using. So it's really interesting what we're learning from it. Digital Performance Essential Certificate. This was created because people were talking so often about SEO years ago, and that was the main focus of digital marketing. And suddenly performance marketing became much more of a thing. So we had to kind of upgrade all of our learning from being very focused on SEO to being much broader. So this tackles all the basics in digital performance marketing, from strategy to understanding language. So it's really for kind of people who are new in role in that way, or if people are, for example, moving roles within an organization to have a more performance marketing based role, or even a more social media role, or whatever. The Advanced Certificate in Effectiveness. This is the follow-on really to the qualification that Sarah's talked you through. So this goes into everything in a great deal more depth. So it talks about setting realistic KPIs, how to measure return on investment for your clients, and it goes into a lot more detail. It's quite a biggie, but it also does very well. And we run multiple exams every year, so there's quite a lot of flexibility about when you can take it if you haven't finished all the learning, for example. But I will just push play on this one.
Monitoring effectiveness is integral to every advertising and marketing campaign. Those that can demonstrate campaign effectiveness keep their clients, win awards, and advance their careers. The Advanced Certificate in Effectiveness provides the knowledge and expertise you'll need to deliver trusted, accurate campaign results. 35 hours of flexible online learning culminating in a final online exam. Passing the online exam awards 3 MIPA stars towards personal accreditation. Anyone involved in the development and evaluation of effective creative work on either agency or client side will find the certificate invaluable, but it's particularly suited to mid-level planners and strategists. The Advanced Certificate in Effectiveness equips you with the knowledge and tools to critically evaluate campaigns. You'll be able to prove the contribution your agency has made to your client's business and use the results to inform future campaigns. Take your work to the next level. Sign up to the Advanced Certificate in Effectiveness.
And then we have an Advanced Certificate in Communications Planning as well. And actually this qualification used to be a lot more popular with people from media businesses and media agencies, but we do find now that creative agencies are being asked to do so much more in terms of channel planning, because it forms such a core part of the creative brief, that we're seeing a lot more creative, traditionally seen as creative industry agency people going through the Advanced Certificate in Communications Planning. I will push play on this one. This one's actually being updated at the moment and won't relaunch until May this year.
Turns out a great media strategy is also a great career strategy. Knowing how to author and implement a great media strategy can not only make your client, their brand, and your agency famous, it can make you famous too. Make the IPA Advanced Certificate part of your plan. 45 hours of online learning, written by industry experts and leaders, will provide you with the best practice approach to developing communication strategy and plans. Elevate your understanding of communication strategy planning by exploring consumer reactions and the cultural importance of media and technology shifts, identifying what and why you should be evaluating, and discussing different approaches to integration and the principles and practices for a great comms plan. The qualification challenges you to voice your opinions and engage with seminal industry publications and IPA effectiveness award-winning case studies to bring the learning to life. We know you need to invest in yourself, to invest in your agency and client. Expand your understanding of the progressively complex media world we operate in to plan and develop better communication strategies for clients and brands. The learning is flexible and accessible from anywhere in the world. Investing in the IPA Advanced Certificate? Sounds like a plan.
I think it's just worth mentioning on that one that that one runs as a cohort. So you start the qualification in May when it relaunches, and then there are 5 modules and there's an assessment at the end of each module, and you're expected to stay on the train basically for the duration of the qualification. It's not one that has one final exam. You are assessed on each module as you do it as part of the cohort. So that's quite a big commitment. So how is your achievement recognised? I've given an example of a lovely lady called Nadia's certificate here, but obviously there's a different certificate for each qualification. So what you will get when you pass your qualification, or once your grade has been marked, is a certificate which will let you know what level you achieved, whether you got a pass, a credit or a distinction. And it'll also have the details of how many MIPA stars you have got. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about MIPA stars because that is a completely different membership offering that we have, and I don't want to confuse you with it at this stage, but essentially every single qualification that the IPA offers has a star rating, and that's given to it based on the number of hours it is learning and the difficulty of the qualification. So when you get to 5 stars, you have the opportunity to become an accredited member of the IPA, but there are lots of other things that you need to checks and balances that need to go alongside that as well. But if you are interested in joining that kind of train journey, then do get in touch, because we can give you more information on that, and there's more information on our website. I've got a couple of quotes here, but I feel like Sarah's kind of aced some of the quotes using Les's quote at the beginning. I think the key thing that I would like you to understand from my part of this webinar is that what you will have by taking part in IPA learning and development is access to some of the best people in the industry and materials that they have created. And as you know, our goal is to improve your business and your client's business, so that all of our qualifications ladder up to better career journeys for you personally, but better work for your agencies. This is a quote about effectiveness essentials. Learning about measurement and effectiveness across disciplines is something most people in the industry should get their head around, especially in a changing environment. And this is about the foundation certificate from a junior member of an agency. Gain valuable learnings from the advertising industry in all its dimensions: client expectations, client comms, creative briefs, objectives, and the process and strategies in place to meet objectives. I've included in this presentation some links. Ben is actually now going to give you a run through of how you would be able to book yourself onto an IPA qualification. But when you get sent this deck, you'll be able to go to you can click on these hyperlinks and they will take you to the IPA homepage for you to register. The IPA learning page has details of all of our learning, so that there are other things we offer over and above the things that are included in our relationship with ABG. And then finally, when you're booked on your learning, you'll be able to click on this link if you need to. You shouldn't ever need to use this link, because once you've registered your account, you'll be able to go into your My Learning page. But if ever that's not working, you can click on this link in the presentation. It should take you directly through. I've also popped the discount code, which is what you will need to type in when you go through the booking process for each qualification here, just in case you get lost. And now Ben is going to take you through live. So let's hope that the website is up and that the newsletter hasn't gone out recently, because usually it gets very busy. He's going to do a live booking with you so you can see exactly how to book. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to Ben now.
Okay, I'll try sharing my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so hey everyone, as Louise said, I'm going to take you through a live booking, how to do for our website. Firstly, you'll need to register an account. You can do that by heading to the top right section here, login register. I already have an account registered, obviously, so I'm not going to take you through that process, but it's really simple, just a case of entering your full name and email address details. So I'm going to head to login. Obviously, I have my account details saved here, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in. We will have these steps sent over to you as well, so if at any point I'm going too fast, don't worry, we'll have them sent over to you. So once logged in, you want to head to Learning and CPD, and then Courses and Qualifications. This takes you through to our Courses and Qualifications page. You can see them all listed here. For this live booking, I'll do the Effectiveness Essentials, which you can type in here as well, just for like a quick find. Once you've found the course, you want to head to More Details. This will take you through to the Qualifications webpage here with all like details on the course. To book on, you want to go to Select Intake, this drop-down box here, and then you want to select 2022 Intake Non-Member. Once you select that, obviously head to Buy Now. This is just, again, confirming which intake you're booking onto. You want to hit Book. And then again, it's confirming the person you're booking on, which would be yourself. And then hit Continue. Again, it's just reviewing your order again, where you want to press Proceed to Payment. Okay, and this is where you'll enter the discount code that again will be shared with you. I already have it saved because I've entered it before, so I'm just going to press it there from the drop down. Once you've got it entered, you want to hit apply discount. You should then get this message come up, meaning it's been applied with success, and you can see the total discount there added. Here you want to enter your billing address for the card you're paying with. Once you've got all those details right, you want to hit apply. And then the final bit is just reviewing your order, seeing everything's okay, and reading our terms and conditions. And if that's okay with you, you want to hit the tick box here to say you've read and accepted them. And then finally, just hitting select here. And then this will take you through to the card payment stage where you can select either to pay by credit card or debit card or however you wish. And yes, the final bit. Obviously, I won't enter my card details live, but yeah, once you've entered them, you should get a booking confirmation through, and then from that point on, you'll be able to access the course straight away. And yeah, that's it. Stop sharing my screen.
Any questions for Ben on the logistics of booking? Any questions for me on anything else that we've covered? Have we we've obviously, you're all in shock. It's too much. Do feel free to just go and register on our website anyway, because there's lots of other information there that's really useful. Even if you don't immediately want to book onto a qualification specifically, you'll get a much better feel for who we are and what we do just by having a little go around the website. And then if there's anything that you want to talk about after that, then do just follow up with us. We're really nice.
They won't bite. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very shy.
So what we will be doing is that actually Charlotte will circulate the deck and along with the screenshots that Ben had shared, to guide you through the site. And we will also provide Louise and Ben's emails, I think, at the end.
And Indra's as well, actually, because my colleague Indra's currently off, but she will be back and she leads the export.
Yeah. Exactly. So if you, even after the session, anytime you have any questions, please reach out to them. Yeah.
We'll also share Sarah's presentation, but I just need to wait for her to send it to me. But you will all have it, I promise.
Great. So I think we're giving people back 5 minutes. And Louise and Ben, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for
thank you for having us, and we're really excited to have you in our club. So thanks very much.
And we'll keep the interactions going. Thank you everyone for your time. Really appreciate. Thank you for joining us. And thanks, Charlotte, for setting it up.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.